Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 121st ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm great, Cameron. How are you?
Doing great. Bright and early this morning. Got to get some content out there for the holidays. Maybe you're traveling to, I think we said this for the third year in a row now. Maybe you're traveling to a relative's house. Maybe you're working. Maybe you're just sitting at home.
Maybe you're not working.
Yeah. So whatever you happen to be doing this holiday season, you can listen to us talk about Mizzou football, Mizzou basketball.
Yeah, I'm happy because I'm off work for a little bit and spend some time with some family, so that's always nice.
Mm-hmm. Everybody be safe with the COVID and the traveling. Try to do everything by the book if you can. Kyle, one good thing about us recording bright and early in the morning is we're fresh off a Mizzou basketball victory.
Barely.
Yeah. I told producer Cameron as we were walking in, I don't remember a game that Mizzou won that they had no business winning more than this game. But we'll save all of our analysis for a little bit later because first we have to talk about football. I don't want to talk about this game, Kyle. I'll be honest with you. Missouri lost to Mississippi State 51-32, and not a whole lot went right in this game.
Started off well.
Yeah. Basically, the only thing, Larry Roundtree looked good.
Yeah.
Other than that, not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like Mizzou has not been very good in the last couple of weeks. They kind of, spent their last bit of energy maybe against Arkansas, and you can't really blame them. This has been such a grueling season, I'm sure. Not only have you played 10 SEC games, which is more than normal, but the season's just lasted really long. Like they've had a lot of breaks from certain weeks and stuff like that, and they really haven't had a break the last few weeks. So it's just kind of been a grind, I think, and you can tell this team just didn't quite have the zest that they had earlier on in the season.
They just didn't have the bodies that they had earlier in the season.
That's true. Or
they have different ones now that they didn't have then, and now they're without guys that they had previously. It's just been kind of a carousel, people hopping off and on the active roster for Missouri this year.
Yeah, Missouri should never have to play like an entire season's worth of games with like 50-something players available. That's just not realistic in a normal year. But, I think that when you look at the season, you just kind of have to change your perspective a little bit. And we've known that the whole time that this would not be normal. And there were going to be guys that opted out and guys that were unavailable. And we had injuries on top of that. So, and every team's dealing with that. So not trying to make excuses or anything, but it's a weird year.
Yeah.
And we knew that all along.
Yeah, on top of everything, then just to have guys get normal football injuries is just, it compounds it. And then you end up with something like your week one starting quarterback playing meaningful snaps in the secondary.
Yeah.
So, not something I could have predicted at the beginning of the season.
That was amazing. Honestly, this game, I will forget this game and will hopefully not think of it very much for the rest of my life. But if there's anything I do remember, it's, of course, Sean Robinson's performance, and I don't think anybody saw that coming, probably not even him.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say so. And we can just linger there for a little bit. He was asked after the game, what's going on exactly? I'm sure a reporter asked him that word for word, and he said, I'm a safety now.
Yeah.
Basically. He's like...
Sounds great.
Yeah. We literally talked before this episode about the fact I said that I'm sure he will be a quarterback somewhere else because that he's good enough to be a quarterback somewhere else, and he's apparently bought in on being a defensive player now.
I think he proved it to himself.
Yeah.
I can do this. And, I don't know that Sean Robinson is really that great of a defensive player. Maybe he was just kind of in the right place at the right time a few times. But honestly, just having fresh legs might go a really long way at this point in the season. Maybe he was just the fact that he hadn't really taken a lot of hits or anything this year. He was able to just go in there and give his 100% effort. He kind of just stood out among the crowd a little bit.
Yeah, so long term, I just wonder if he has an off season to actually be a defender, and then goes into it next season if he could actually contribute.
I wonder how much being a quarterback can help you on defense, because maybe you just understand where they're trying to go with the ball.
Yeah, potentially.
Because he obviously had an interception. He read that play really well.
Yeah, blew it up.
Yeah.
I mentioned Larry Roundtree being like a lone bright spot, so I guess add Sean Robinson to that as well. And Missouri started this game off like they have a few other games this season, with just like a touchdown drive that almost looked too easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody on Twitter was getting a little too excited,
Yeah.
and I was thinking like, oh, okay, like nice, here we go.
Good start.
Yep, let's just dominate this game. That's obviously not what happened. Immediately, Missouri forced a Mississippi State punt, and it was muffed, and then batted around a little bit into the end zone for a Mississippi State touchdown. And then it was just kind of all downhill from there.
Yeah.
I mean, even when Missouri scored later, there was a point in the game where I think they scored to make it 18-34, and then Bledsoe got an interception. It looked like, okay, like we score here, we're right back in this game in the second half. But then Bazelak threw his second or third interception.
Yeah, it really would be interesting to see how this game plays out without the muffed punt at the beginning, because, yeah, you go down, you get in a great drive, easy touchdown, and then a great defensive stop, and you're potentially driving to take a 14-0 lead or a 10-0 lead. Momentum is just so big in this sport, especially in
Oklahoma, they call it.
Yeah, they do call it that. Somebody does out there. And, man, it's just crazy how much these special teams horrors like seem to just continue to haunt us, even post Barry Odom era. But I really felt like Cade Musser had been the most reliable like punt returner that we'd had all year, and I'm not sure he'd really returned a punt.
No, I think they listened to us and they just started just doing fair catch every time.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine. But man, you kind of have to feel for him, man. He was emotional on the sideline, and I don't know. Yeah, I just hate to see that, especially a guy that's his only role on the team, at least right now, is just catch the ball.
I can't say enough how little I would want anything to do with catching punts.
Yeah.
Like I have said before on this podcast, I would literally wave for fair catch and then just run up the field and let it go over my head every single time.
Yeah.
I would never even. Yes, I would never even think about trying to touch the ball.
Yeah. I agree.
And I would just let it land where it lands.
Probably lose your job, and then you'd be happy.
Exactly. Yes.
If you catch it, it's fun, but
no,
it's so stressful.
I wouldn't even want to try. So, yeah, I mean, I can't. It is so frustrating, but I try to. Sometimes you put yourself in the player's shoes, and that's one spot on the field that I would just want no part of.
Yeah, but that was a huge swing. That was so frustrating. And did they score on that play, like on the muffed punt?
Yes.
Yeah. So just immediately erased all momentum they had built.
Yes. Mississippi State has some guys we talked about in the preview. A couple of freshmen, the quarterback and their running back. I can't remember what year. I want to look up their receiver that caught a bunch of passes. But they have some building blocks for the type of offense that Mike Leach wants to run. And, of course, we talk about the fact that they're going to throw the ball 85 billion times.
Yeah.
And they throw it like 32 times and run it 17 or something like that, more than they have all season.
Yeah, well, I just remember saying something in a preview last week that I don't know why you wouldn't try and take advantage of teams that are playing the pass. And even, they run a lot of tunnel screens and stuff, but I mean, Missouri was rushing 3, and they just exploited that immediately and started running the ball really effectively. And I don't know why they didn't start doing that sooner, but it kind of destroyed Missouri in this game, and they clearly weren't really ready for that.
Yeah, and they just kind of made plays. I mean, Mississippi State just made plays on offense when they needed to, and that's kind of been the story for Mizzou's losses this year, is just I feel like it's the defensive side has just kind of let teams have been able to just do what they want at times. And whether that's, throwing the ball down the field or just gashing the defense for big runs, there's just moments where teams just look incredible on offense, and they just put it together perfectly.
Yeah.
And there's nothing Missouri can really do. And I think a lot of that still goes back to, players being hurt. Obviously, we talked about the secondary. It just would have been nice. That kind of thing is something you might have expected going in. I didn't expect the offensive struggles that we had in this game. I would have thought that if Mississippi State was going to put up 50, then Missouri would be right there with them, and we would be looking at something like the Arkansas game again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure that we'll have kind of a season wrap-up at some point here in the next few weeks, but one thing that was interesting to observe season long was just Missouri's ability to stop the run. And I feel like at the beginning of the year it was bad, and Tennessee ran all over us, and then we got really good all of a sudden. Like LSU couldn't run the ball worth anything against us, and we were the D-line, even with some backups in there, it seemed like we were really stopping the run, and now we've kind of reverted back to not being able to stop anything.
So for Mississippi State, Will Rogers, the quarterback, Joquavius Marks, the running back, and Jaden Wally, the receiver, all freshmen.
They said his name about 100 times in this game.
Those guys are all freshmen, so they'll be around for a long time, giving defenses headaches. Let's talk just for a minute about Connor Bazelak, because this was kind of a struggle game for him. We haven't seen him. Obviously, we haven't seen him throw 3 interceptions before, and one of them was a pick six late. I don't know. I can't really explain. It seems like he throws a very catchable ball a lot of the time, and sometimes that works against him when it's just kind of floating up there a little too long, and it just looks like anybody's ball.
Yeah.
And there's been times in the past where, like with Kelly Bryant, I wanted him to throw the ball up there and let his receiver go make a play more often. And it just seems like sometimes maybe, I don't know if Connor, it doesn't look like he has too much confidence in his receiver. It just looks like he's underestimating the defender, that they won't be able to make the break on the ball that they need to. And a few times this season they have, and it's just looked awful. I mean, it looks like you have no business throwing that ball on some of those interceptions.
Yeah. The announcers in this game were very, very blunt in saying that Missouri had no wide receiver threat whatsoever. And I mean, I can see where they're coming from. I kind of agree with that. In the way that I don't really think they have a deep threat.
Yeah.
They have some really good possession guys, and Bannister, and I think Chisholm is probably more preferably kind of a short route possession kind of receiver, and he's not really a deep threat typically.
They don't have that just pure speed guy.
Right.
They can just take the top off.
One of the only deep shots I can remember them taking in this game was to Bannister, and it felt like Connor put it where it needed to be, but Bannister just wasn't quite there. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure that typically you want to be taking shots with Bannister all that often, but they need maybe Dominic Lovett in there.
Right. Or maybe Micah Wilson runs under that ball, but
yeah.
He might be one of the fastest receivers.
I wonder how much of Bazelak's struggle in the last few games has just kind of been teams have seen enough of him at this point, and they have enough film to kind of see what his tendencies are and what he wants to do. And I kind of wondered if maybe Missouri should have started taking a couple more deep shots in this game to try and open things up a little bit. But
yeah, and one thing that I thought would really work for him was the fact that he is good at going through his progressions, that you can't just, I don't think, it doesn't seem like from an outsider point of view that a defense would be like, okay, here's the book on this guy. He's going to look here, and if you take that away, he'll be in trouble. Or, here's his 2 reads, and if he has to go further than that, then he won't know what to do. I feel like he, at least, like I said, from somebody who's not studying the film to try to plan a defense, he's unpredictable in that you don't know when he's going to check it down, when he's going to go to a second option, or when he's going to just sometimes force it to the number one guy on the play. But what were you saying just before about receivers, maybe Barrett Bannister?
Deep shots, more deep shots? Or
Yeah, honestly, I would have been fine with just running the ball more in this one. I mean, one thing I was going to say was even on one of his touchdown passes, the one to Nico Hay, that wasn't any, I mean, that was lucky.
That was improbable.
Yes. I mean, great play by Nico Hay on the back end to get that ball, but if the defender just times his jump a little bit better, that's an interception
Right.
instead of a touchdown. So I don't know. I think he maybe after they got down early when Mississippi State was just kind of putting together back-to-back touchdown drives, then maybe he felt like he needed to really make something happen to get him back in the game. But
I definitely do wish I could see this offense with a more capable receiving tight end. I think that's just going to really help a lot whenever hopefully one of the two guys coming in can provide something, I guess, as freshmen. I guess Nico Hay has been pretty good at tight end, but he's really our only tight end receiving threat at this point.
that's kind of a weird development because a couple of years ago, obviously we had Albert O, but I remember thinking like, man, it seems like we've got like 3 or 4 guys that could really be big threats at tight end.
Yeah.
And then after he left, it was like, okay, what happened to all these guys
Yeah,
that we thought we had?
We kind of have some bodies, but nobody's really proved themselves yet. You know, Messiah Swinson has like 1 or 2 catches this year, and Logan Christopherson has 1 catch that I can think of, and it was a huge 4th down conversion. But and both of and Swinson's one of his only catches was like a big, was it the Colt 45 play? I'm pretty sure it was from a few weeks ago against Georgia, maybe.
But I just really thought one of those guys was going to step up and just be the guy. And
right.
Or I thought we would struggle to keep one of them off the field. I thought
Right.
we'd be needing to get them both involved because they were so good.
Yeah, and we've actually seen less Daniel Parker Jr. receiving
Right.
than we have in recent years. But he did have a couple catches in this game. But
That would be a question for Coach Drinkwitz maybe is like, you know, how are you feeling about the tight end play as far as in the passing game, and you know, what do you want to see from that spot in the future?
yeah, I would definitely see like I definitely think in the future we will see the tight ends be relied upon a lot more than they currently are. I think that's the game plan.
I hope so. At least I think back to successful Mizzou teams of the past, and they've kind of always had that go-to tight end to help out the quarterback. And we got to remember that I have to remember that Bazelak's just a freshman. I think I kind of heaped some expectations on him based on how he's played and how he's looked.
Yeah.
And he's going to have these games.
Yeah, he kind of shot out of the gate at the beginning of the year, and so I think maybe we got some unrealistic expectations. But you're right, he is a freshman. He still has 84 years left, still of eligibility, and you know, I'm not sure that he 100% has this job locked up in the future. But we'll see. That's obviously something we'll get to at some point.
Anything else on this Mississippi State game? We're ready to move on. We're on to Iowa. Hopefully. Music City Bowl against Iowa, as long as Iowa has their COVID situation in order, because they have paused football activities, and that's supposed to be a week from today. Tickets as low as $24, I saw. And it's in Nashville.
Yeah.
In a different year, I think potentially we're all over that. But
I've never gone to a bowl game before,
Neither have I.
Mizzou bowl game.
And Nashville would be a heck of a place for it.
Yeah.
Either last year or the year before, I think one of you predicted them to play in the Music City Bowl.
Yeah.
We were kind of hoping Mizzou, Nebraska, but who let us down there?
Yeah.
I felt like Mizzou had a pretty good shot at landing in what was probably going to be the Citrus Bowl against Northwestern. And they didn't. They ended up, I guess the Music City Bowl would be deemed a lesser bowl, I suppose, in normal year standards.
In my opinion. Like, you've got the top ones, and you got everything else.
You got the New York 6 bowls and then everything else. Yeah, I agree.
New York 6.
The New York City Bowl. And then, what did I just say? The NY 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I was 6-2, Kyle.
Yes, I got off track here. I think there was some weeping and gnashing of teeth a little bit with the Mizzou fan base about what their bowl destination was. I guess I don't really care all that much. It sounded like this year there was probably a lot. It sounded like this year there was more probably player involvement in where they ended up, and obviously the players probably wanted to be a little bit closer to home, and honestly, I kind of feel like this is where Mizzou wanted to be, was in the Music City Bowl in Nashville. And I was, they're a good opponent. They've had a pretty good year. They've played a lot of easy teams, but they're still a very capable team. That's a good opponent.
Why can't we play different teams in bowl games? We played Iowa not that long ago in the grand scheme of things in the Insight Bowl and got beat, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was a very close game, but we lost.
So, like, there was rumors, we're talking about playing Northwestern, and I'll remember they played Northwestern in 2008 because Missouri has played in quite a few bowl games, but, there's been stretches where they haven't had a bowl game for a few years, and so you don't have to go back very far to find some of these opponents. And we've now played Texas and Oklahoma State twice, I think, in bowl games since leaving the Big 12. So familiar faces there again. I don't know. I wish. I know there's like some kind of like regional feel for the bowl games, and like these matchups happen. It's not a coincidence that we're playing the same teams.
Mm-hmm. It's just the conference affiliations of these bowls, and I don't really understand why they have to have conference affiliations.
Yeah, and just like the caliber of the different programs that end up being matched up with each other. Yeah. So really, unless you're in one of those New York Six bowls, you're kind of stuck with maybe playing the same teams.
The New York Bowl.
Yes.
I feel like one matchup that this is really kind of a random thought, but I mean, I agree with you. It seems like the same teams always play each other. I feel like Florida and Michigan played each other in bowl games like 4 years in a row or something like that. But yeah, it is. I agree. A little bit tired. That it seems like it's like the same teams. Even the teams that we didn't play against, it was kind of like, well, we've played that team, and so. But
I don't even know who I want to play. Like I don't know.
Yeah, who's somebody you would want to play?
I don't know how they did this season, but like give me like a Oregon.
Yeah, like a West.
Give me a Pac-12 school, or like a. I know Florida State's bad, but like a Florida State or Virginia Tech, something like that.
I was telling you guys, I would love to play a big brand name like Florida State or Wisconsin or something, and maybe it's a team that's having a bad year, and we get to say we beat Florida State in a bowl game. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially like maybe 5 years from now or something, whenever they've returned to glory.
And somebody could listen to this and say like, oh yeah, Cameron, I bet you would like to play Oregon or Florida State or Virginia Tech. Like, good luck with that. Next, you'll be saying you want to play Ohio State, which maybe, you never know. I don't know. Iowa, their schedule's kind of goofy. I mean, they've played 8 Big Ten teams, and they're 6-2. They lost to Purdue and Northwestern. They beat Michigan State, Minnesota, Penn State, Nebraska, Illinois, and Wisconsin.
I mean,
Michigan State and Penn State way down this year. Minnesota,
they're bad.
Wisconsin's down. They're maybe the best team out of that group that Iowa beat.
Yeah, out of their wins, I guess I would say Wisconsin, but they're not good either. They can't score a touchdown to save their lives. So, that is a really interesting schedule, and I'd say the Big Ten is usually. They've got some powers for sure, but even those normal powers are not good this year. So it's really tough to make. It's really tough to know how good Iowa is.
Yeah, I was looking at their statistics a little bit, and Spencer Petras is their quarterback, completing 57% of his passes for 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 1,500 yards in 8 games. Looks like they'll be trying to run the ball a bit. So, I don't know. It's so tough to say. And the one thing that I'm happy about is we don't have as big of a layoff between the regular season and the bowl games this year.
Yeah.
Barry Odom wishes he could have a shorter layoff.
It's always a little bit weird, yeah. It seems like the season is over for like a month and then like, bowl game.
Yeah, it's like a different season.
Yeah. I almost wish we had a little bit more time, I think, this time around, because I think this team is exhausted, but maybe just the longer this thing drags on is worse. So it is interesting that the bowl game is pretty much just only a week away.
Iowa did get a bigger break because their game against Michigan this past weekend was canceled. So they are getting maybe to get some guys healthy, although, like I said at the very beginning, they had to pause football activities due to COVID. So fingers crossed that Missouri even gets to play in a bowl game this year.
Yeah, that is true. I think Iowa has the tendency to be a little bit stagnant on offense, so hopefully Missouri's able to take advantage of that, and it might be kind of a low-scoring game. But if they can run the ball effectively, it might not be a low-scoring game.
Now that the regular season has concluded, we have some all-SEC team announcements and some decisions being made by some players. I'll run through this real quick. Connor Bazelak is your SEC Freshman of the Year. And I was looking at some statistics. He finished 4th in the SEC in passing yards behind Kyle Trask, Mac Jones, and Matt Corral. So he finished with just under 2,400 yards passing. I'll have to dig into the record books and see where that ranks for for Mizzou freshmen all time. Let's see here. Harrison Mevis, freshman All-American, according to a magazine. I can't remember.
I believe it.
And first team freshman All-SEC. Nick Bolton, first team All-SEC. Trajan Jeffcoat, first team All-SEC. That was a surprise.
That really was a surprise to me. Obviously, we all know that the story of Trajan Jeffcoat taking a year off for what I don't even remember why, but he wasn't with the team for like a full year, kind of fell off the face of the earth, and never really thought he was a person that would be returning, and just got word he was coming back before the season started. Didn't even get a full off season or anything like that, and just had an incredible season.
Yeah.
But
1 sack off the SEC lead after the end of the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I knew Jeffcoat was playing really well. I can't honestly say that I've realized how well he really was playing, but first team All SEC, that's fantastic.
And this is the coaches list that I'm reading off here. Larry Roundtree's second team All SEC. It's a pretty good little group there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as I predicted last week, Nick Bolton is not playing in the bowl game, and obviously not returning for his senior season. Moving on to the NFL, and maybe a little bit more of a surprise is Larry Borum not playing in the bowl game and not returning for his last 2 years of eligibility.
I believe he still had 2 more years of eligibility. I think he's a junior this year, but that one caught me off guard a little bit. I think that it hurts a little bit because we just weren't prepared for it, and the offensive line could really use him next year.
We just talked about how that's going to be, with the recruiting class and everything, how at least I said that the offensive line is something that's kind of giving me pause right now.
Yeah, that's going to be an area of concern, I think, next year. That'll be, as we're doing our previews into next season, that will probably be one of the biggest question marks is the offensive line. It'll be interesting to see if they hit the transfer market and try and grab a guy or two there, because I think we'll have to. And now we kind of wait and see what Mike Maietti does, because we really need him to come back.
Yeah.
But, I think Larry Borum has surprised everybody this year how well he played at right tackle. I don't think anybody ever thought that he would really be mobile enough to play tackle efficiently enough, but he did more than that, and he was fantastic and missed some of the year with injury, but when he was in there, he made a massive difference. And I definitely think that he has a future at the professional level, just maybe started a year earlier than anyone was expecting.
Larry Roundtree posted on social media that he absolutely will be playing in the bowl game, so that's nice.
That is nice. I guess you got to respect that, I guess. I mean, not that I don't respect Nick Bolton for not playing, but that just kind of seems like a very Larry Roundtree thing.
Mm-hmm. And then the only other football note I have here is that Mizzou made the Final Four, or top 4, I guess, for St. Louis defensive end recruit Tyson Ford. He also named Notre Dame, Georgia, and Oklahoma in that top 4.
Some decent squads.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like Oklahoma's the favorite at this time, but as I like to say, a long way to go.
Yep. That'd be one to get, though. You ready to talk about basketball?
I'm ready.
All right. Oh, producer Cameron, go right ahead.
Well,
it's like 4 weeks in a row.
Next week we can just roll right in.
We gotta pick some games.
It's genuine every single time. I just completely forget.
He was so excited to talk about basketball.
Well, I don't know if you guys want to keep picking any more games. There's no SEC matchups left. We could pick the playoff games.
We could pick the playoff games.
Last year, when Cameron had the lead, he was pretty eager to not do that.
Oh, I see. We don't have to then.
No, I don't
went
care.
back and took a
Let's
listen.
pick 'em.
I don't know that it's going to matter.
No, there's not going to be anything to pick. I mean, We could pick them right now. Alabama, Clemson, Alabama. That's my pick.
Okay. I actually do feel like Alabama Clemson could be a fantastic game. I know we've seen it 45 times in the last 4 years, but
Pick Clemson.
Yeah, I'll pick Clemson.
All right.
Okay. Well,
That's worth 20 points.
20 points. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
is it now? All right. Anyway, so last week it was 56-50. Kyle had the lead.
I tried to make some moves.
You tried to make some moves. They were all wrong. So Kyle gained 5 points. You gained 2.
Yikes.
So Kyle has 61. Cameron has 52.
It's got to be a record, right?
No. I went.
You actually knew.
I went back and looked just because I was curious. I thought that was.
It's great research.
Yeah. How many games did we pick that last year, though? If he knows, that'll be impressed.
Last year, I don't know how many games, but I know how many
it's all
points
about
you had.
Gotcha.
Last year, Cameron won 76-65.
Yikes.
The first year, this is embarrassing. Cameron won 60-39.
What? Wow. I guess I've just really developed my picking skills.
I guess.
But anyway, Kyle stopped Cameron from getting the three-peat, so congratulations.
Thank you.
You are
Thank
the
you very
2020 winner of SEC Pick'em plus Nebraska.
Thank you very much.
Wish I had something for you, but I don't. Sorry.
You get to look at this tree. This Christmas tree.
My TV just turned on. Anyways, thank you. That is a beautiful view of this tree. It's very festive.
Now can we talk about
And
basketball?
So is that TV.
Yep. Have at it.
All right. Man, I can't wait to pick some games next year. All right. Mizzou played Bradley last night, Kyle. Did you know?
Yeah.
And they won. And now they're 6-0. And it was an easy win, obviously, just like we predicted. But actually, it wasn't. And neither offense could do anything all game. And it was a struggle. It was ugly. At one point, Xavier Pinson, they said on the broadcast, was 3 for 4 from 3. And all the other players for both teams were a combined 0 for 24 from 3.
0 for 24.
Yeah.
The color commentator kept mentioning how loud the rim was whenever it was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to spend too much time on this topic because I don't want to be too critical, but I don't know. I can't remember what this dude's name is, but he's got a little bit of a southern accent. And
He's SEC.
Yes.
Born and raised.
Yes. I think he is like a curse because every time he calls a Mizzou game, we either lose or play horribly. And I always think like, oh, wow, this guy's calling our game again, then we're playing terribly. It's not a coincidence. It's a curse. And you can't change my mind.
Yeah. Not to spend too much time on this, but the announcing was not great. So I encourage the announcers to come listen to our podcast and then tell us that we're terrible.
Did you know that Tillman is stepping up this year in place of Reed Nico?
Yeah. The only starter missing from last season was Reed Nico. Hopefully Tillman can step up and fill his shoes.
Yeah.
That was like one of the first things said in the broadcast. I was like, oh, geez. It's going to be a
long night.
It was a long night for more than just the commentating. Obviously, okay, so all I have to say is the halftime score was 21-19. That's disgusting. That, make your eyes bleed.
Yeah, what was it, 2-2, 6 minutes into the game or something like that?
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot going on. And, of course, on top of that, Drew Smith was in foul trouble all game. Missouri was getting out-rebounded, right from the beginning. And we talked about in the preview that Bradley was not an especially good rebounding team, but Missouri is usually a very good rebounding team, and they just got destroyed on the boards. There's one guy in particular for Bradley, Elijah Childs. He was just a rebounding machine. And
yeah, he had a great game. He's a little bit of an undersized forward, but he was playing his absolute hardest, and he was getting every board, and he was scoring pretty efficiently inside at times.
Ended up with a 13-point, 10-rebound double-double. And Yeah, nothing really to talk about the first half. I'll run you through the exciting part here real quick. Bradley made a three-pointer to go up 8 with just under 4 minutes left. Mizzou got a shot to go down with Mitchell Smith made a jumper. Then Tillman made 2 free throws to cut it to 4. Mark Smith had 2 trips to the free throw line where he was combined 3 of 4, and that cut it to 2 with under a minute left. Then Bradley had the ball. They kind of just ran the shot clock down. It was down on the game clock was under 30 seconds. They missed their shot. Mizzou got the rebound, and then there was a pretty strange play, in my opinion, where they kicked it around to Mark Smith, who was open from 3 from a distance he has made plenty of shots from. And he passed it up, but then just did a 1 dribble pull-up from 3, like 3 feet to the side of where he already was, and he missed that. Bradley got the rebound, and Mizzou fouled. Bradley thankfully missed the free throw. Mizzou got the rebound. They got it to Penson. He drove, dished to Tillman. He scored an incredibly tough layup. I have no idea how he made the shot. He got fouled, made the free throw, with 1 second left to go up 1 point.
Yeah, when they were down like 8 with a couple minutes to go, I think I had kind of not written them off completely, but I think I knew it was pretty bleak.
I had written them off completely.
I mean, just teams in Mizzou's past teams that are still all the same players of the past. They don't win this game very often.
This team doesn't win this game very often.
Never.
I mean, like, you put Missouri in the same position, down 8 with just under 4 minutes left, 100 times. I don't think they're winning the game very many times.
Yeah, it would actually be really interesting to see that exact situation 100 times, how many times that actually happens, because I don't think it's more than like 10.
Yeah, according to Ken Pomeroy's win probability, they would win approximately 85 times. Or sorry, 15 times. They would lose 85 times.
Okay.
In that situation.
Well, that's interesting.
No, they would win 15 times.
Did you think Tillman was making that free throw?
No. So Emily and I, my wife, we were watching the game. She doesn't usually tune in for games of any sort, but I was obviously really into this game and probably being really loud. So she came and sat on the couch and was watching it with me, and I just kept saying, oh, well, he's going to miss these. He's going to miss one of these. It was like every free throw in the last 10 minutes of the game, I was like, well, he's going to miss this. And for anybody, Mark Smith, Tillman, everybody.
Mark Smith did actually miss a key free throw. But.
Right. So that's why I was just like, everybody's going to miss every shot ever. I was in full, like, sulk mode with like 8 minutes left in this game where I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we beat Illinois, like one of the biggest wins in a long time. We're ranked in the top 15, and then we're just going to do this.
Yeah,
like,
I was definitely going through that as well. Like, how come every single time we get some national recognition for being good, we immediately suck?
Yeah.
And in either sport.
Right. Yeah, for the last, like, 4 years. So, in basketball, longer than that. Yeah, I thought every free throw was going to be missed. And Emily was saying, no, he's going to make it. He'll make it. And I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. And so she just kept predicting makes, and they kept making them. After that one Mark Smith miss,
Thank you, Emily.
I think they were perfect from the free throw line after that. And, yeah, I don't know. There was the Mark Smith, when he passed on the 3 that was open, I didn't fault him too much because I was like, okay, we've been struggling to shoot it. Let's get the ball inside. Like, that's okay. I wanted him to shoot it. When he first got the ball, I was like, yeah, put that up. Mm-hmm. I felt good about it. It was in rhythm. Then he passed on. I was like, okay, that's fine. Let's work it around, get it into the paint. But for him to pass the first shot and then just do a 1 dribble pull-up from 3, that made no sense.
I don't really think that's his shot. I mean,
no.
It is a little bit different, like you said. Yeah. He's definitely like a catch the ball and shoot in the rhythm kind of player, not create his own shot. And even with that 1 dribble, that can kind of throw off your funk a little bit. But, yeah, I honestly don't know that I loved him taking that shot there, but because he'd just been so cold all game. But
the first look or
just either, yeah. I felt like there probably was a better look, but at the same time, it's so late in the game, you kind of just have to putting up shots.
And then there was kind of a weird exchange when Bradley missed their free throw. Missouri got the rebound, and they were coming up with still just down 2 with a chance to tie it or take the lead. for the second time, and it was so clear, like, we are getting the ball to Pinson right now. Like, everybody stop what you're doing. I can't remember who had the ball in their hands, but I know it wasn't Drew Smith, and Drew Smith was saying to whoever had the ball, pass it to Pinson. And they kind of just cleared out and let him get into the paint. And in live feed, I thought that maybe there was an offensive foul, but then on the replay, I think it was a good no call because the defender was kind of sliding into position late and he flopped a little bit, but you never know with college basketball officials. I think, I was scared that they were going to call an offensive foul there, but then he does get it to Tillman, and then just the weirdest, like, Tillman's under the backboard and it's like sticking his hands back up towards the rim and somehow gets this layup to go.
Yeah.
And that was the weirdest thing ever.
That was a very acrobatic shot for sure. Another thing I wanted to just bring attention to, right before that was the almost backcourt violation.
Oh, yeah.
Where I believe it was Mark Smith was trying to get the ball to Pinson.
Yes.
And yes, he was trying to so frantically get it to Pinson that he was almost across the line.
1 foot across.
But was not. And it was a great no call. And honestly, in real time, I was like, that was backcourt. They're going to call it. And in that just split second, I was thinking, that was it. And they didn't call it. And so I'm glad they didn't.
It seems like refs are fairly lenient with that backcourt call. Like, it needs to be pretty obvious. It's kind of like a illegal forward pass or whatever. Like, when you pass the line of scrimmage, you got to be all the way across for it to be called.
Yeah.
So Tillman made the free throw, and that was, I didn't think he was going to make the free throw. I thought we were going to go to overtime. But I'm very pessimistic in those situations.
I was even happy with overtime at that point.
Like, exactly.
I just couldn't believe that we got ourselves in that position.
Yeah. But Missouri was able to win the game, and it was just so improbable. I mean, Missouri shot 31% from 2, 14% from 3. They did get to the free throw line a lot like they usually do. Like I said earlier, they got out-rebounded. You just don't shoot that bad and win games.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely abysmal. I cannot believe that we were able to win this game. We were just so fortunate that, Bradley was cold too. I mean, Missouri plays good defense, but both teams were just missing shots.
Yeah.
Shots that they would normally both teams would probably normally make.
But Mizzou goes to 6-0. And obviously, the advanced metrics did not like this performance, as you might expect. So they dropped in KenPom from like 32, 34 to 40th. And that's to be expected when you can't shoot the ball. Yeah,
the good thing about this game was that we're 6-0, and the selection committee is going to see a win. A win is a win, and KenPom,
against probably the Missouri Valley champs.
Yeah, there's Bradley won it last year, and they've been a pretty good team, and I watched Bradley play against Missouri State. I think maybe you guys both might have been there with me, but Bradley's a very good team, and they're capable of playing different styles. I think we saw Bradley drop like 100 points last time we saw him in person, and they were raining threes, and it was a lot of these same players. So they can kind of change their style of play to what kind of team they're playing. And they kind of were able to take advantage of Mizzou inside last night. But they are a good team, and I think that they have a very good chance of winning the Valley again. But I don't remember where I was going with that thought. But yes, that it's going to look good to the selection committee at some point this season. They're going to see a W, but the analytics didn't love it. They saw right through it.
Yeah, still waiting for last year's information to drop off on those websites like KenPom and Bart Torvik.
Yeah.
But still, top 40. If you're in the top 40 on KenPom, then you, at least on most devices, on my phone at least, you can see the number 1 team and the number 40 team all on one screen. And there's something about that just like does something to my brain. It's like, okay, like we're pretty good if you're within sight of the number 1 team. Missouri has another little layoff. Obviously, they were supposed to play one game between their last game and Bradley. They got canceled. But next up is Tennessee. Next up is SEC basketball. And Tennessee we knew that was going to be a tough game. I think we both predicted Tennessee to win the SEC preseason, and they are better, I think, than I anticipated.
Yeah.
I think they are probably a top 3 or 4 team in the country.
Yeah. I'm not sure Tennessee's really been challenged yet as far as playing like a really good team. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember they've really played any super quality opponents yet. So at this point, it kind of looks like they're just invincible. They have no weaknesses. They have so much depth and so many weapons at different positions. But it will be really interesting to see how they react to obviously playing Missouri. I'm assuming is far and away the best team they've played so far.
That's where you're wrong.
Okay.
First game of the season, they played Colorado, who is ranked 24th in KenPom.
Oh.
But they played them at home and won that game by 9. So
Mizzou's better than Colorado, right?
I don't know. Colorado, I think.
You would have said yes before yesterday.
Yeah, that's potentially, yes. I think Colorado is actually just kind of like a very similar team to Missouri, but just a little bit better on both sides, offense and defense. They're just slightly better, but kind of play a similar style. So that might actually be a pretty decent parallel game to look at. And then they did beat number 75 Cincinnati at home as well. But then since then they've had some cupcakes, but they've just destroyed those teams. I mean, it's hard to play a 300 level team in KenPom, win, and you're my goodness, Merry Christmas. It's hard to play a 300 level team in KenPom and your rating increase.
Yeah.
And they played Tennessee Tech. They beat them 103-49.
It's decent.
Yeah, and they improved 2 spots in KenPom after that. Then they just played St. Joe's and beat them 102-66. And they play another 300 level team, USC Upstate, tonight. And then a week from today, they play Missouri. So I don't know, just right off the top of my head, Tennessee is incredible. I think they match up well with Missouri. I think they have a savvy enough coaching staff and players to create a game plan that will mirror what Liberty did and what Bradley did against Missouri's offense. And I think it's going to be a real struggle. Tennessee, I think, is 4th in adjusted defense efficiency. So
they're pesky.
Yeah. I'm not optimistic about this one.
Yeah.
Do you have anything, Kyle, that you can say that would maybe change my mind?
Well, it's really tough to know what – now that, we watched Missouri struggle last night, it's kind of back to like, all right, which team's going to show up? And it's so hard to predict what's going to happen. I don't know why Missouri was shooting so poorly last night. I don't know – we know Bradley's good at defense, but Missouri still had opportunities. They still did not take advantage of those opportunities. Were they just out of focus? Surely not. But I still think that this is going to be a close game. It's at home. I think that really does still play a pretty big part in the matchup. But I agree. I think Tennessee's just too good. I think we knew they were good, but like you said, they have proven that they're as every bit or better than even we thought preseason. So I could see this being kind of a defensive struggle. I think Tennessee wins something like 68-60.
Okay. KenPom's got it as basically a toss-up still. They've got Tennessee by 3. And I don't know. I just think... Yeah, maybe it's hard because it's such a flashback to the offensive woes from previous seasons. Mm-hmm. Like last night, it's just like, oh, yeah, these are the same guys that can't shoot that we've had for 3 years.
Yeah.
And what I would give for this to be, I don't even know if my math is right here, but for this to be Jonte Porter's senior year.
Oh, man.
Or to have
Justin Turner.
Yes, that would be very nice.
I haven't even checked to see what he's been doing this year.
He's shooting like just under 40% from 3 at Bowling Green.
Would be nice.
Pretty decent volume. Yeah, that'd be the type of guy to have. You think back to we've said this before, but that first Conzo Martin team having Jordan Barnett and Cassius Robertson and Jonte Porter all consistently good 3-point shooters.
Mm-hmm. And having Jonte able to maneuver out of the post really quickly
Yes.
to get to the shooters.
Yes. And yeah, his passing to get those guys open looks. That's just, I took it for granted at the time. And looking back, I'm like, man, when will we will we ever have 2 3-point shooters as good as Jordan Barnett and Cassius Robertson on the same team ever again?
I don't know.
Hopefully, surely we will at some point. But when you have had non-existent shooting like this for the last couple of years, I mean, we were relying on Jordan Geist to be, a 3-point contributor. And when Mark Smith only shoots 3 threes in a game and misses all 3 of them, it's a scary sight. I wanted him to be pulling up more. I wanted him to be shooting the ball more. Thankfully, he was getting to the free throw line against Bradley. I mean, the whole team was to some extent, and that really helped. Jumping back to the Bradley game real quick, one interesting thing was Kobe Brown. He's been starting all these games, but what we've been seeing is him only play 15 to 20 minutes and Mitchell Smith be in the lineup when it really matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Mitchell Smith had the most Mitchell Smith game ever last night, where he didn't really score very much, but he just had some huge plays in really key moments, just kind of out of nowhere.
9 rebounds, 3 blocks.
Yeah, had a huge block in an expiring shot clock situation, and kind of sparked the end of game run with a nice kind of mid game. What am I trying to say here?
You got it.
Not what is it? What is it called when you shoot and it's not a
mid-range?
Mid-range. Okay, yeah. It's early in the morning, folks.
Yeah.
He had a nice kind of mid-range jumper that sparked the run last night. So he's a senior. He kind of just shows up big in big moments.
I forgot about all the craziness right at the last 1 second of that game where Bradley tried to throw a full court pass and it was just going to sail out of bounds. It looked like, but then Mitchell Smith touched it. And so then
just ended the game.
They got to the first one. He touched it out of bounds, and so they got to inbound it from the sideline.
Right.
But then he swatted that one, and then they had to review it. And I was like,
that was excruciating.
That was took forever. I was like,
this game, please.
Yes, let this game be over. I want it to be a win. Back to Tennessee though. Man, after that performance, you got I always thought Missouri's shooting and their offense in general was going to dip at some point because these are the same players. There's no way this is sustainable.
Yeah.
But they're not going to shoot 31% on 2-pointers ever again this season, I hope. I pray. So hopefully that was obviously some regression to the mean. Hopefully we go the other direction and shoot a little bit better against Tennessee. But if there's any team that's going to force you to shoot a low percentage, it's Tennessee. And so I'm seeing something like Missouri's going to lose 62 to 72. Tennessee wins 72 to 62.
There you go. Yeah, I think we agree on that for sure. That Missouri can make this close. They can make it competitive, but it's going to be tough to pull this out.
Yeah, I mean, we would need the kind of offensive performance that just comes out of nowhere against, like that we've had against Florida, or where it's just like, okay, we're just all of a sudden hot and making everything. That's the kind of thing we would need in this game. Yves Pons for Tennessee is just a special player. I mean, he's built, honestly, Tennessee all the way up and down their lineup.
Yeah.
They've got guys physically that they just look like an NBA team compared to your average college basketball team.
Yeah.
Their size, their length is just elite at every position, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, Rick Barnes is probably out Hall of Fame coach, too.
Yeah. Yeah, how's Texas doing? Well, they're pretty good this year, but
they are better this year.
Yeah. I still think they would take what Rick Barnes has done the last 4 seasons.
Mm.
I think Missouri's going to be okay. Obviously, they're still undefeated, but that game last night just
that was definitely a wake-up call. That was a wake-up call. That was a reality check, and maybe that's what they needed. Maybe they're getting a little arrogant. Needed to be reminded that they got to play hard against everybody.
So going into SEC play, Ken Pom has Missouri at tied for 5th in the league as far as projected standings at the end of the season, at 10-8, along with Arkansas and Kentucky. Kentucky's looking terrible.
I don't think Kentucky will be 10-8.
And there used to be kind of a logjam at the top. It used to be like, 8 teams within a game of each other, but they've kind of separated out Tennessee now. And I think Tennessee is going to run away with the SEC, honestly.
Probably so, yeah. They're head and shoulders above everybody else, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they only lose 2 or 3 games the rest of the way. How are your expectations now going into conference play compared to preseason?
Honestly, I'd say they're probably about exactly what they were before preseason, and maybe I just have a little bit too much recency bias after what happened last night. But I absolutely still think that Missouri should be fighting for that top 4 kind of double bye situation going into the SEC tournament. I don't know how realistic that is, but I don't really think anybody else in the SEC outside of Tennessee has really shown that they're probably as good as they were expected to be preseason. So I really do think the SEC outside of Tennessee is kind of wide open. So I wouldn't really be surprised to see Missouri finish anywhere in that like 3-7 range, and I would probably be satisfied with anything in that range.
Well, they're going to be so clumped up there. Yeah, like honestly, anything. I'll take it one step further, Kyle. I'll go 2-8. Anywhere in there is like totally possible because you're looking at Florida, LSU, Ole Miss, and then on the other end, Arkansas, Kentucky, Alabama. Like Missouri could beat them or lose to them.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of those kind of just coin flip games where, especially on the road, where Missouri's probably the better team, but it's tough to win on the road. There's going to be a lot of just toss-up situations.
Hopefully the team looks at them as opportunities and they can build that resume.
I agree.
Because we still got them squarely in the NCAA tournament at
Absolutely.
This point. Still, even though they're still after a win, 6-0, but it just feels like that was a loss. Like in every way that matters except the only way that matters, the final score, that was a loss. Yep. And so it's hard to not think of it like one. Yeah. That's funny. Is that all we got this week?
I think that's what we got.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Enjoy family. Enjoy not working, or enjoy working if you have to work. It's not so bad.
Yeah. All right, everybody. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our stickers and T-shirts on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week.
After our Christmas.